How's it going, everybody? I hope that you guys had a very blessed weekend. Today, Korey and I have some stuff that we want to talk to you guys about, just about negotiating and the mistakes that you might be doing that are actually killing your wholesale deals.
Yeah.
So, again, I hope that everybody had a blessed weekend. A blessed week, and we're happy to get into these things so that you guys can actually go out here and be aware of some of these mistakes so that you actually don't make them in the future. So, what are the most common negotiation mistakes made? Well, in my opinion, the number one mistake made is that people chase way too much.
Way too much.
If you chase a lead to the point where there's a couple different scenarios, right? If you chase a lead to where you're, hey, are you guys ready to sell right now? Or you're in negotiations, it's like, hey, are we going to get an agreement? Like, if I do this, are you ready to sign right now? You're just chasing them. And what does that do? That really just pushes them away, in my opinion. It doesn't attract them because it's like you're forcing the deal.
Also kind of harms your credibility a little bit, in my opinion, at times.
Yeah.
I think some sellers will view you as slightly less trustworthy if you are too pushy. They will feel like you were trying to push them down a road that they may not be ready to go down yet. And if you were honest and transparent, you wouldn't kind of force it as hard as you might be forcing.
Yeah. So again, I think that a lot of people's main issue is just trying to, push people and chase them too much to secure a deal. And at the end of the day, those are typically the ones that are going to fall apart, or you're not even going to end up getting them under contract. So be very mindful of that when it comes to negotiating. Don't try to force somebody to do something, because that's when everything falls apart. Number two, and everyone's going to think this one's pretty funny because at least I do, is talking too much. I've seen, countless occasions where people have sent me their call recordings, and I look at the very top and I look at the very bottom, and I can pretty much tell who spoke majority of the time. And it's a massive issue when you're looking at those and you're talking 70% of the time to 80% of the time. Your goal when you're on the phone with these sellers, even during the negotiation tactics, right, is to be the silent one, to try to be the person that speaks the least amount. So Korey and I have our team try to speak only 30% to 40% of the time. It should really be for the seller to lay out all of their issues and whatever else they're dealing with to you, which allows you to obtain more knowledge.
It's true.
So every time, go ahead, Korey.
I was just agreeing with you there on that.
Yeah. So talking too much is bad. Silence is powerful, because the second I ask a question, if I'm just quiet, then they'll start answering the question. And then if I feel like I still haven't gotten enough information, then they'll sit there. Once they're done talking, they might be telling you, yeah, the roof needs this. And then you just don't respond for like a couple seconds. They're going to think in their mind, oh, he must want more information. Let me figure out what else I can tell him.
So let's show them how that like works in reality. So, you be yourself, I'll be the seller, kind of talking about condition, like the example you just gave.
Okay.
Let's show them how that plays out in real life.
Yeah. I'll just do a live example here.
Okay.
Yeah. So Korey, with the house, I don't really care about all the little things. I really am just curious about maybe some of the bigger ticket items. So what all could you tell me about the property there?
Well, as you probably can see or may know, it needs a little bit of work. It's a little outdated. I haven't really done too much to it over the last couple of years. It definitely needs some work. Honestly, the roof probably is going to need to be changed here within the next little bit, and there's some plumbing issues that I know of. Like I said, the house is pretty rough. Depending on what all you're going to want to do to it, it's going to need quite a bit of work. Definitely needs some love, but nothing too crazy.
Okay. And do you guys see what I did there? There were so many times where I could have interjected and interrupted the individual and asked, okay, what more about the roof? What more about this?
About plumbing? What more about this? So like he was sitting there in silence, which, and this is just role playing. It makes me like almost feel a little bit uncomfortable in the sense of it's like, well, I'm not getting any feedback, so I just got to keep talking. Am I answering their question or not?
And it was something
So
that I
that's how
really
you get them
struggled
to
with.
continue to tell you more and more information when it comes to these things. The more information you have, the more knowledge you have on the situation, and you can introduce the knowledge that you have back into the conversation later and use it to your advantage. So the more patient and quiet you can be on these calls and let the seller just tell you everything that they're willing to tell you, that's going to play in your benefit later on in the conversation.
That was something I really struggled with when I was first starting.
And a lot of newbies do, because they get excited over the first potential yes, and they just start regurgitating all the script and things like that out of their mouth. When really you just need to sit back and listen to what they have to say. Because if the seller thinks that you're a good listener and you're actively listening and you're engaging whenever it's appropriate for you to respond back, that's also going to help build rapport with the seller, because they're going to feel like you're a really good listener. And then when you can bring specific things back up, maybe something very specific that they said, and you can bring that back up into the conversation as a talking point, that's really good just for the rapport building department alone, guys. Versus if you're just going through and reading off the script, like, sound pretty robotic, sound salesy, sound very similar to everybody else that's calling these sellers, you have to stand out and be different while still, solving problems for these individuals as well.
I'm sure some of you have realized that when you're on the call, you are the one that's in the hot seat. So you ask a question and they give you a generic response, and now you're like, okay, well, what about this? And then what about that? And then the conversation just becomes unnatural. The way that I asked Korey the question, if you guys really paid attention to, was I didn't really care about all the nitty gritty things. I was just kind of curious about the overall, bigger ticket items, what's kind of going on with the property there. And then it's up to him. You leave it open. You don't just say, I want to know about this. I want to know about this, unless they leave it out of their whole spiel. Then you would ask that question, like, okay, well, what about the plumbing? How old's the plumbing? Do you know what's in there? Is it copper, PEX, PVC?
Yeah, you get a little bit more in depth. And one thing I like too about your intro right there, Evan, and I have my own version of it's a little bit similar, is you're asking your question without asking a bunch of specific mundane questions, which gives the seller permission to then just tell you whatever they're willing to tell you. And maybe they're willing to tell you that the house has substantial foundation problems and it needs hundreds of thousands of dollars in work of stuff that you wouldn't even have asked about otherwise if you would have just went through the standard, like, how old's the roof? How old's the HVAC? When was the last time the kitchen and bathroom was updated? So you give the seller permission to speak on what they know about. Now, like Evan said, if they leave out specific details that you need, then it's okay to ask. But kind of the way I structure mine, pretty similar to yours, Evan, but a little bit different. Is I'll ask the seller, like, hey, can you tell me what all's going on with the property? Just kind of get me up to speed on everything. So I'm just saying, hey, just get me up to speed with everything. Tell me what all you know about the property.
It's open-ended. They can tell you whatever they want and whatever they know about the property. I've had people tell me right after I gave that same, kind of question to them, they say, well, I really want to fill you with everything I could possibly think about. I don't want to.
Sometimes they give up the motivation right then.
Yeah. So they tell you absolutely. Like, I've had guys tell me, I've asked that question. I've sat back for 15 minutes with my hands behind my head like this, and they're just talking, telling me absolutely everything. And all I'm doing is every minute or so
down the property themselves actively.
Yeah. And every minute or so I'll sit there. They'll be talking, tell me about this. And every once in a while I'll put in one of these. I go, yeah. And then they just keep going.
What I like to do is I'll put in the ums and the yes, and every 2 or 3 points that they're saying something, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm just writing all this down here. And I just, maybe I actually am putting notes into my system, the CRM then. But if they think that you're actively doing it, they're just going to keep listing things off because they're like, oh, okay, he's just writing it all down, taking his notes. So they're just going to, until you continue to start responding back, they're going to continue to try to think of things that they can tell you that they feel like is going to be pertinent for you to know.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing that happens when you ask in this kind of manner, like what Evan and I are showing with this example of condition, just get me up to speed on everything, or, tell me what all's going on with the place. Sometimes the sellers will interject the motivation right then. Like we've had several instances before where we go and ask this question and the seller's like, well, it was my wife and I's property. We bought it 15 years ago. And, unfortunately she had passed away about 2 or 3 years ago. So the condition has deteriorated quite a bit since that time. I'm just not able to keep up with it anymore. And, it's got this, and this going on. So they just kind of unload the problem on you right there because they are going to tell you that up front, because in their mind, that is the reasoning as to why all the condition issues exist. And they just want to put that out there up front. Like, hey, I had this happen in my life. The house condition has suffered because of this. And here's what you're dealing with. So you already, your motivation right then, at least the main factor. There's usually always some sub motivation underneath that, some problems, emotions, whatever it may be, that's generated from that one overall motivating factor. You have to dive into that a little bit deeper in the call. But just asking questions the right way, guys, and then having enough patience to just sit and listen, extremely powerful in negotiations on these motivated seller calls.
So what does that do? Let's bring it back full circle for just negotiating. You wouldn't be able to negotiate well with little information. So the more information you have is going to allow you to negotiate better. And that's why we're telling you about how to stay silent on the call. Although that might not be the negotiating step right there, it's going to help you negotiate on the back end. So let's get into number 3 real quick. And this is a big one for me. It's not having a process and not being confident in what your next steps are and how you can actually help. If you're not able to express how you would be the problem solver and how you would be the solution, and you don't have a process on how you can go out here and help these people, they're not going to be confident in you. So one of the things that Korey and I do, be like, this is something that we deal with all the time. I would love to see if we're able to help you out with this. So this is pretty much what we would do and how we could help you.
That's just so much better than some people. And I don't know where this model became popular. I personally hate it. But you see individuals use the model of, instead of just being direct, like, hey, I'm the problem solver. We deal with this all the time. We potentially can do some good for you here, blah, blah, blah. You are offering solutions right there that are viable. So you have that model. That's the way we like it. Or on the other end of the spectrum, you have people that are just going to tell the seller, like, oh, well, let me talk to the finance department and see what kind of offer we can get for you, or if we can do anything with this. And, do you mind if I just put you on hold for a few minutes, or maybe we can schedule a call tomorrow? Like, it's terrible. Terrible.
There are people in the industry that do that. But me personally, I feel like you take credibility away from yourself as the actual decision maker when you say that I have to go back and talk to my financing department. And what does that do? That all that is the good cop, bad cop wrapped up into another fancy term of financing department. Let me go talk to my partner, see what they say. So when I come back and give you the offer, you're not yelling at me.
But it devalues your position in that moment. You take yourself from being the main guy, problem solver, the one who's going to get this issue off the seller's plate and get it across the finish line. You take yourself from that to now, in their mind, you're just the information gatherer and you have someone else to answer to, and they don't even know if you have a solution that's available for them or not anymore.
Yeah. And now, mind you, it does work for people out there, but for Korey and I, this is just our preference. We don't do it that way. We prefer to come in as the decision maker. Our acquisitions reps perform the same exact way, and we do extremely well with this method. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. Make sure you have a process and be clear on what the next steps are, so that they actually feel confident in you as well. And again, we're going to go into number 4. One of the biggest things that I think people make mistakes on when it comes to negotiating is just not having enough information. Remember, knowledge is power. If you're going to try to negotiate with somebody and talk them down on a price, don't you think it would be better for you to be able to justify as to why you're talking down why you have to come down on your price? In my opinion, I think so. Because if you're talking to somebody, I made a video about this the other day, actually, and it said, you are trying to, I'm not allowed to share, you're trying to be a dealer. You're trying to pitch your sale and do this and try to get them to come down as much as possible without actually providing any value. Like, if you don't know the knowledge and how you're able to actually be a solution, and you don't have any information to back up your negotiation, then you're kind of just taken without giving.
Yeah.
So, at least in my opinion, that's how that would work. I would like to know absolutely as much as I possibly can, what they're dealing with, what they're dealing with, what their goals are, and how I can actually help them.
Yep.
That would be what I'm primarily focused on. And
what's the problem?
knowledge.
Here's our solution. Sum that up.
The only way for you to do that is to have as much knowledge as possible when it comes to their situation and how you're actually able to provide a solution.
Yep.
So get as much information as you possibly can without pestering or asking a bazillion questions. At least that's how it's always worked really well for me. I'm able to come back in and use the information that they give me almost like an ace up my sleeve against them. So you use the information they give you to negotiate with them.
Yep.
So that would be my number 4. I didn't really explain that one that well. I got to get better at explaining these, Korey. So number 5, thinking price is the real objection. People want to get to the next chapter of their life, and it's not always about money. There's so many people out there that think that the second they get an objection or the second they don't want to do that deal, it's because of the price.
Yep.
You have to somewhat get the people looking into the future, and they just want a solution on how to get there. It's not always about the price. Because I've had people all the time before tell me, hey, I would like to get this for the property, and then I have to come in substantially below that. And then I offer them that. And then they tell me, oh, yeah, the price is a little bit too low. And it's really not about the price. It's about where they want to be. And then I ask them, hey, with that number that I just gave you, is that enough money for you to go out here and do X, Y, Z that you were looking forward to do? And then that really gets them thinking about, okay, well, actually, it might actually be enough money for me to go do that. And maybe I'm just being greedy.
And it's not that they ever had a problem with the price that you offered. It's because they were uncomfortable with the way that made them feel, the uncertainty of, am I going to be able to do what I'm looking to do? Is my plan going to work with that number? They don't care about the number other than that. Is it going to work with them for whatever the next chapter is?
Yeah. So I've dealt with that a lot. I've had so many people that I've came back and I've kind of gave that same little spiel to, and they're like, oh, well, yeah. And then I tried talking to them a little bit. I'm like, well, are you open to me showing you how that offer could still work for you? I can still show you how you're able to do this and that with the number that we have on the table. I mean, I wish I could do more for you, but with the number, I still think that you're able to get this done. And I would love to see if I'm able to help you out with that. People break all the time, and they're like, yes, you've been very honest with me, very transparent. And I know it's not what I was wanting to get, but I can still make that happen.
And here's one thing about these, like price objections, guys. Two things, actually. This stuff right here, what we're talking about, especially with these price objections and everything, these types of negotiation tactics work extremely well when you're dealing with an actual seller with a motivating factor. They have a real pain point. They have a real problem. If somebody has no motivation and they're looking to sell to upgrade their life, then you should not be surprised when their only goal is the highest price possible. There's no problem for you to solve there. There's no convenience for you to offer other than a quick close on a cash offer, but that does not match the model of what they want with retail pricing. There is no shame in telling somebody like, hey, if this is truly what your goals are, in my professional opinion, your best avenue is to just list the property. Sometimes I say, well, hey, I appreciate your honesty. Sometimes I say, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to list the property. I don't want to do any repairs. It does need some work, blah, blah, blah. And then they open up a whole nother can of worms, and then your foot is back in the door on that conversation from a point of logic as well when it comes with the price. Because it's like, well, Mr. Seller, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Which way do you want to go?
That goes directly back into negotiation.
And then boom, you're right back in, foot right back in the door. Because then you're telling the seller like, hey, you can only have it one way or the other. If your sole goal is price, I already gave you my opinion, you need to list the property. But if you don't want to do that and you prefer to sell it to someone like me, that comes with the caveat of we have to buy it for a price that makes sense. Now, I have no problem showing you how that price pencils out for us if we get to that point. But, we have to be at a number that makes sense. So you're right back in there negotiating.
Yep. So, that works extremely well. That works extremely well for individuals.
Well,
and sometimes they still want
motivation, guys.
Sometimes they still want a super price, and that's when you just disqualify and do a long-term follow-up. So
there's no shame in that.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. Because the unqualified, unmotivated seller today, but that you were honest and transparent with and didn't waste any of their time by creating a false narrative. You just told them up front, like, hey, I don't think I'm going to be a good fit for this here. In my opinion, if this is what you're looking to achieve, you should just go and list the property. A lot of times they don't. And you don't really know. Maybe they had something brewing in the background that they were thinking that they were going to sell the property, but it's just not a problem yet. So they're in the mindset currently that they're going to try to get the most they can for it. You don't know what's going to happen 6 months down the road over that seller's life.
Mm-hmm.
And the impression you make today is what secures the deal next week, next month, next year, whatever it may be.
So that's a big one for me. That's a very big one for me. So just make sure you guys are getting what the actual objection is, and you can bring that back full circle and use it to negotiate with these people.
100%.
Here's another one for me, and this kind of goes back with knowledge, is just not building enough rapport with the seller. This will actually kill your ability to get a price accepted, because
it will.
People work with people they are comfortable with and people they trust. If you're just in here and it's just a pure business conversation, purely transactional, they're going to take your offer and be like, well, thanks for the call. See you.
We'll consider it. Like, no.
Yeah. But if they feel like you've been very genuine, you've actually had a normal human conversation with them.
You don't have any trick connection, nothing funny.
Maybe you've related with them on some things. I've done this before, and it's actually pretty funny because Korey laughed at me. Virtual. You guys can use this. Big tip and trick here, right? Make sure you write this down. We've had calls with
your golden nugget for the day.
This is my golden nugget for the day. I've had individuals that I'd be talking to that live out of state, and they have a property that's in our market. Like, oh, we're actually out of state. We live over here. I've split second on the dime, looked up. This is purely for rapport building, because then it opens up a conversation. They're like, oh, I like this guy. I looked up on the map real quick where they were talking about. I found the next closest town, and I said, oh, you know what? My buddy actually used to live out over here. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's crazy. That's only like 15 minutes from me. I'm like, oh, yeah.
With the seller.
And maybe sometimes people think that's disingenuous, but it's just a way to build rapport and get people to, talk to you. Do with that information as you will. If you want to call me a weirdo for doing that, whatever, but it works. Trust me. But building rapport is extremely important. They go with people they trust and feel comfortable with. And at the end of the day, you're here to solve a problem. And if you can solve that problem, then you've helped people. So,
100%. And at the end of the day, guys, I'll tell you this, just from a little bit more personal guidance on this kind of stuff. At the end of the day, if you have worked with sellers that truly have a problem and you provided exceptional value to them and you solve those problems for them and you help them get on to the next chapter of their life, that's rewarding in and of itself. And you will sleep soundly at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. I feel very good. We actually had people that we've helped through some very sticky situations, more on a personal level here, but we've helped them through some very tough situations, and they actually messaged us from months and months ago. They messaged us the other day and said, Merry Christmas to you and your family. I hope you guys are blessed. You really helped us out, and we won't forget that.
And that's how you know you made a lasting impression on somebody's life. And granted, guys, us wholesalers, like, we make good money doing what we do, but if you can truly make it about the people as well, that's where you're really going to win in this industry.
Yep. But to bring it back to the negotiation, you need to be building rapport with people, because that also helps you negotiate down on price, because they trust that you're being fully transparent and honest with them that, hey, I actually have to be down lower due to this reason. And they say, okay, well, he hasn't given me any reason not to trust me yet. So, or I haven't trusted him yet. So,
yeah. And sellers will mention stuff like that all the time. It's because they always have like their kind of standard spiel before they accept an offer or reject it, and you'll hear them say something like, well, it is a little bit less than what I wanted, but, you seem like a really trustworthy individual. And, I really do need to get the property sold. And, if you're willing to pay, $100,000 for it, I'm willing to sell it to you.
Yeah.
So that's them telling you right there, like, hey, I'm trusting you. You seem very transparent, trustworthy, and credible. I'm going to trust you. I just need to get it done. Please, let's just get it done.
Yeah.
I give in.
Mm-hmm. I've had, oh my goodness, I can't tell you how many people have spoken to you like that.
When you have that mindset shift in the seller and you ink that deal, that transaction's gravy for the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't convince them to accept the agreement. You didn't hard close them on anything. You didn't do anything slick. So the chances of them wanting to renegotiate or change their mind is low because it was an honest exchange. You provided value there. You connected with them. They feel like you are trustworthy and that you're going to get it done. You're going to have a better experience throughout that deal all the way to the closing table.
Yep.
And if you go into it right, even if you do have a hiccup at title, listen, guys, plenty of situations. This has happened to some of you, and you will know it. Situations where you get the contract to title, a lien comes up, $10,000 lien.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just take it out of your assignment fee if you're only making $5,000 to $7,000, and the seller may not want to take $10,000. But if you've built good rapport and a good relationship with that seller, they're going to think in their mind, I should just take the hit on this $10,000 because I may not find another buyer who's going to be as honest with me as Korey or Evan has been so far. And I may be risking getting a worse experience from somebody else, and I still have to pay the $10,000.
Mm-hmm. So
the work you do on the front end helps secure it all the way through the back end.
Yep. Lex had a question. So what do you guys think about adding in third-party stories? I've done this before where somebody told me something that they're going through, they're dealing with, and I've said, hey,
that works pretty good.
My brother's dealt with that before. I remember when he was going through that and how that all worked out for him. I could only imagine. So yeah, that's a good way to build rapport. Just maybe talking about family or somebody that I remember one person talked about being a doctor, and I said, oh, well, my buddy's dad's a doctor. And they're like, oh yeah, where is he out of? And I told him and like what he kind of does in his space. And they're like, oh yeah, that's good. Just different ways to build rapport, guys.
So here's my golden nugget for the day when it comes to that question right there. And I've had this, excuse me, I've had this happen many times. When you're dealing with very specific situations, technicalities on a deal, like maybe it's a little bit complex probate or just any kind of complexity that can happen on a deal. And I've had this happen a lot with probates and stuff like that, just due to the nature of inheritance and things like that. There's a lot of technicalities. But if someone has what they feel like is a one-of-one unique problem, and it's a huge problem, they don't know what to do, they don't know how to resolve it, their attorney's not really giving them clear guidance, like they feel alone in that scenario. When you can come in and show and talk about a related, like what Lex is saying there, a third-party experience, where I can tell them, hey, I dealt with this seller actually a couple months ago. Here was their situation. It's almost exactly like what you're dealing with, and here's what we did to solve it. That shows them a clear road path to, resolving the problem on their end, which ultimately makes you seem more credible. So using a third-party story in like that situation, I love doing that. I do that all the time because it draws the seller in closer to you and makes them feel like, well, if he can make this impossible task happen for them, he can do it for me. I need to listen to what this person has to say.
Yeah, we do that all the time, and that actually helps improve our close rate. By just saying, hey, this is something I've dealt with in the past. It's something that we're very familiar with.
It's
and we've actually helped people.
Pretty much.
Yeah, we've helped people walk through this before, and I'm sure if we got a little bit more information about it, that we might be able to help you. One of the things that help you guys, too, is that depending on the situation, you typically want to, if you can do a deal on it where it's not too complex, you can say, yeah, I'm pretty sure we could probably help you. And other situations you run into, you're like, yeah, we might be able to help you out. I want to do my best and see if we're able to do something for you. And then you can come in as like, hey, we're actually able to do that. Something that we've done in the past. And for your particular situation, this will work.
It's all part of either branding yourself as either A, B, or both, the problem solver and the credible authority figure on whatever it is that's going on. Now, even if, like Evan's saying, you're like, well, we may be able to do some good for you here. You're still branding yourself as like the most credible most credible solution that they have at the given time. But when you're like, hey, we've dealt with this 10 times, here's how it played out, blah, 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 and you give them that clear, definitive path to resolving the problem, you are the most credible option to them.
Mm-hmm.
They know like all I have to do is reaching an agreement with this individual, and this is done and over with.
Yep. So
you're not having to sell yourself at the end of the day. That is all just part of, being credible.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I don't ever sell myself on calls. I don't ever have to. I'm so good at talking to people on the phone now. And mind you, everyone's gonna be like, well, how'd you get so good? I just made thousands and thousands of calls.
Like just putting in the work. Bodybuilders don't get jacked overnight. They hit the gym every day. Just got to put in the reps. That's all.
So you get comfortable talking to people, and then you can have a conversation. How Korey, it's like talking to your friend on the phone. Well, hey, yeah, I actually dealt with that before. You just kick back, nonchalant. You adjust your tone to how they're doing. Negotiation is really big when adjusting your tone. So like, someone's going through a hard time, they tell you, hey, my family just passed away. You're not going to sit here and talk about like, oh yeah, well,
what's
what about the house? You're going to want to be like, I'm sorry to hear that.
You got to lead with empathy, specifically in that instance.
And what does that help back to negotiation? It builds trust, rapport, and they feel more comfortable with you.
This is why Evan. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying people only sell again who they're comfortable with.
That's true. Trust. And this is all part of just the bigger picture of what Evan and I teach in M2M, of what we call the conversational framework. Sometimes there's just way more that goes into it than just qualifying on like MCTP and basic negotiations. If you can understand like the psychology side and have a grasp of the overall conversational framework, just like Evan said, every pivot, every objection, you could have a way to pivot yourself and get centered right back into the middle of the conversation, which is back to the negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if you don't know how to do these things, you get hit with an objection, conversation over. They don't want to sell.
One minor thing
that really does make the difference. This is a multi six-figure per year difference, and one thing that you can implement, which is having good conversational framework, will make you hundreds of thousands of dollars more.
Yep,
literally.
Here's what my this is actually an analogy that's true. When I was very young, probably like 14, 15, my dad was teaching me how to drive, and he said to me, because I was kind of driving like a little sissy or whatever and going real slow, and he told me, drive like you know what you're doing, act like you know what you're doing, be confident.
Yep.
And that comes back to calling. Go into a call with confidence.
100%.
If you go in like you're real antsy and you're a little shaky, you don't really know what you're talking about, and you don't even know if you can help them or what your next question is going to be, how do you think the seller's going to feel?
They're terrified of you.
Yeah, they're like, oh my gosh, this guy.
You got to think, this is their house and their life that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Do they want something that's iffy and shaky, or something that's definitive, credible, and trustworthy?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to sometimes, guys.
Yeah,
I've had sellers accept considerably less with me and with Evan and I than they have with other people that are just not as good as on the phone. I mean, it is what it is.
Yep.
And
Number 7. Oh, sorry, Korey.
You're good. Go ahead.
Number 7 here is just going to be rushing the seller. That's a big no-no. You rush the seller, deal's not happening.
Big no-no.
Big no-no. Rushing a seller is very bad. This is just one I wanted to throw in here, because if you're that type of person, like, well, let's get the contract signed and move from there. Well, when do you think you'll be able to sign the contract? If you're forcing, it's likely the deal's going to fall apart. So try not to force a seller to do the deal with you. They should be the ones saying, I want to do the deal with you.
Yep.
And that's how it comes back.
Even if it's virtual, they're saying like, yeah, I'm ready. Send the agreement over, and then we'll go over it.
So let's talk about the tips here that Korey and I want to go over with you. Just again, this was figure out what the real objection is and isolate that. If it really is a price objection, break that down and see, is this money still able to help you? Maybe we can come up a little bit, isolate that objection. If it's a trust objection, maybe they don't trust you, or they've had bad past experiences, or they don't trust
the biggest one I see. They will not trust you because the last guy shafted them.
Yep.
So, and if you don't know how to work that situation properly, you're going to be in the same bucket with the last wholesaler in the scumbag department.
Yep.
But you can easily pivot out of that department if you just know how to work the conversation right.
Yeah. So you need to figure out what the actual objection is. Again, there's like fear objections, all that fun stuff. You just have to isolate that and then come in as the solution and how you've seen that happen to other people before.
Yep.
This is how you're different, things like that.
You
Number
also
two,
spin that tip right there. And this is another thing that you guys need to be doing. Figure out what the real motivation / problem is and isolate and focus on that. That needs to be a center point of your conversation. If there's no motivation, there's no real problem. What are you doing on that call anyways?
I probably bring the motivation back up quite a few times during the call, asking,
Absolutely.
if, I know, how soon are you looking to sell? I imagine you might be looking to, to sell within the next 30 days if this is what you're dealing with, blah, blah, blah. You can sometimes make an assumption and then they'll either correct you and be like, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. You just bring it back.
It gives you opportunities to make them like reflect in a way on the problem and the pain, which puts your solution a little bit up on a pedestal as well, because they're thinking about like, oh man, this sucks. Like, I need to get this off my back. And, Korey's interested in buying the house. Like, I need to get this over with. So,
yep.
Works well, guys.
So figure out what the actual objection is. Number 2 here is a tip that Korey and I is do not lead with price.
Never.
You guys are going to talk. We've been talking about this for probably the last 30 minutes now, but do not lead with price. The offer is the solution. The problem that you're solving is the actual offer. Hey, I'm willing to buy the property so that you can get to this next point in your life.
Yep.
If you're just saying, hey, I'm able to pay you this for the property, but I don't know if that'll actually solve your problem. Is this enough for you to do this or that? Yep. So lead with your solution to their problem, not the price. If you buy the house, I can get you here.
And like making the price like the one thing that you use to help sway the decision, in the sense of like, okay, well, if we can close in the next, 30 days and pay you X amount cash, is that something you would consider? I just don't really like that, guys. Like, I don't like that at all. What works better is when they have a valid problem, you have a valid solution, they need to sell, they are honest with themselves on the situation, and you are honest with them on what the potential outcomes will be. Again, that's getting them back into thinking about the results of what's going to happen after you resolve all this for them. They can think about 6 months down the road. They have that nice, warm and cozy feeling. They think like, oh, that'd be so nice. Okay, let's bring it back to reality now and look at it. And they're like, oh, I just want this over with. Like, what do you think you can do, Korey? Like, and then you bring your price into play. Your price isn't the determining factor here. Maybe it is in the sense of the seller a little bit, like, will they accept it or not? But your price is not it's not like a bonus to what's going on there. You're not like using it like, accept now and you get the cash offer of XYZ price. No, it's like the price is the price.
Yeah.
But it's going to resolve the problem.
Yeah. Your main solution.
The price is the vehicle to resolve the problem, guys. That's it.
Yeah.
The cash offer is.
Other than that, you're solving their problem, whether they're behind on taxes and they're nervous about the property getting taken. Well, or they're going into pre-foreclosure. Here's a good example. Someone's getting pre-foreclosed on, but they don't want that on their record. Now if we buy the property now, one thing that you might look forward to is that if you were to try to go buy another house in the future, although you might have lower credit at the time, at least you don't have that foreclosure hit on your record.
Yeah.
So they see that and they're like, oh, that'd be great. That would actually help me in the long run. I'd actually be able to buy another house.
Yeah.
Looks better when you sell it than it does when you get foreclosed on.
100%, way better. Banks don't typically like to lend to people again after a foreclosure. It's kind of a black eye a little bit, but things happen. We understand.
Yep. Here's my number 3 tip, and Korey likes this one too. It's never give without getting.
Oh, this is what happened.
So Korey, for in some cases that they say, hey, I want this price. People will say, I want this price, but I want to close in the next 14 days. Well, okay, Mr. Seller. Well, I got to be honest with you. There's not a whole lot of people out here that could close this in 14 days, especially with the title company needing to process the paperwork for at least a week and a half. So I think I might be able to get that done for you. But I mean, at that price, I'd have to come in a little bit lower if I'm going to get this done in 14 days.
Yep.
So that's
and that comes down to like, with the seller, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You don't want to put it on the market. Well, you're not going to get retail price if you don't.
Exactly.
You want to close in 14 days? I can perfectly fine close in 14 days. I will close in 10 days. Well, we got to be at this price.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to occupy the property for 30 days after the closing. That's fine. That comes with its own caveat of some additional paperwork that's going to need to be done. Some of the funds are going to remain held in escrow, and we're going to need to buy this at a price that is safe for us to do so. If all that comes together, then we can 100% let you stay in the property for 30 days after. That's no problem whatsoever. You need moving assistance. Okay. That comes back into play with the price. Never give without getting, just like Evan says.
Yep.
And this really comes into play, guys, on creative financing deals, like seller finance deals, creative finance, because it's like, okay, they want a certain monthly payment. Well, you want a certain interest rate.
Yeah.
They want a certain down payment. Well, you want a 10-year balloon. It really comes into play there. And here's the thing, guys. You could have somebody who's charging like on the price near retail, and you can still make a deal out of it if you negotiate really good terms. And it's like, okay, you want that price. I have to have really good terms. Yep. I need low money down, low interest rate, and an extended balloon. If you're willing to do those things, I'm willing to consider giving you that price, Mr. Seller.
Yep.
Literally working a deal, that narrative right there, right now.
So never give without getting. Here's the next thing that we spoke about just very briefly earlier was matching their tone and mirroring their energy. I hate it when I see people, mind you, I've role played with a ton of people, and I've adjusted my tone, and I've actually seen people do this on live calls. They're talking to an older man that's like, yeah, I'd like to sell it, but I'm dealing with this. But on their side of the phone call, they're like, well, Mr. Seller, if I could just get you this price and we could do that, that guy's going to be so overwhelmed because you're just way too high energy.
They're sitting there like this, like just waiting on you to stop talking so they can put the phone back to their ear.
Yeah. So if I was talking to an individual like that, I'd be like, he's like, yeah, well, I'd like to sell it. I'd be like, well, okay, Mr. Seller, I might potentially be interested in buying it if this is something that you'd be interested in talking about a little bit further, maybe get a little bit more details and see if we're actually able to help you out or not.
That's going to help lower the seller's guard. You're matching energy to energy with them. Tonality's the same. They're not going to view you as a threat in that. It's just a casual conversation. These small tweaks, guys, I promise you, they really make a difference.
Mirroring someone's energy makes them feel comfortable in the conversation.
Yep.
They feel like you're on the same
Makes you more trustworthy.
as well. I've seen it all the time. I do it every single time I talk to somebody. So make sure you're doing that. So I've seen some questions on here I want to pull up real quick. I've seen Ruben ask a question. How can I make myself stand out in markets where there's a lot of wholesalers from initial contact to throughout the conversation? These things that we're telling you right now. You open up the conversation, have a different opener than everybody else. Talk about, adjust your tonality, get creative with those things. Be more so about the problem than the price. All of those things come into play when it comes to making yourself look different. A lot of people are out here just to get a deal. We're out here to solve problems. And if the main point of your conversation with the seller is to solve their issue, they're likely to go with you rather than somebody else, even if that other person is paying just a little bit more. Yeah. Again, Korey and I have had several cases where people were like, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Seller, I'd really like to help you out here, but I really have to be at $50,000. Although I still know that can help you out as far as what you're looking to do. You might be able to get a little bit more going with somebody else, but that's going to come with a couple other things, maybe listing the property, or it's going to take a little bit longer for you to get that money. And then some people out here will sell you a pipe dream and then back out on you last minute. At this price, I know I can get this done. And they're likely to go with you rather than somebody else just based on confidence and security. Yep. So I don't know if you have anything to pitch in on that before I move on, but that's at least where I stand with that.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that.
So this Noto's been asking for a little while here. If I join M2M, how much will I need per month for marketing? So for those of you who don't know what M2M is, M2M is Marketing to Millions. This is where Korey and I have a lot of our information inside of here that we teach. A lot of things that we're talking about right now. And sorry, I took it down. Whoops. Took down the wrong one.
Yes, join M2M, guys. Evan and I, we're in there with Zach and Rick. Do multiple calls a week. We talk a lot about this stuff in depth. Also having a lot of the course material in there as well. So, but go ahead, Evan.
Yeah, so I M2M is just what Corey was saying. We're in there. We have community calls 3 a week. You have access to message us about certain questions that you're dealing with. And there's a lot of really good information in there for you to start going to implement, from marketing strategies, negotiations, very specific follow-up strategies, dispositions, KPI tracking, all the fun stuff. So if you guys are wanting to learn a little bit more and have a little bit more access to Corey and I and Zach and Rick, then go to joinm2m.com and we'll see you guys there. But he wants to know, how much will I spend per month for marketing? That really varies. That varies based on maybe your market, what strategies you're looking to do. Obviously, you can do a lot of free stuff. You can go here and sticky note. You can virtually drive for dollars. You can reverse drive for dollars, which is pretty much just a sticky note again, but going out there and building lists that I'm a sticky note this one, but if I call them too, I might have a good shot of getting the deal.
Yeah.
If you want to do cold calling, you're going to have the money for the dialer, and for texting, money for texting. It really just depends on what your budget is and how much you're able to maintain without putting yourself underwater.
And probably $400 or $500 a month minimum. It's going to get you some texting. You can pay for your dollar with that. Have a base level X-Leads account. That'll start getting the ball rolling. Get some, results with that, and then implement more capital from there. But it's not a situation where you need thousands and thousands of dollars every month to make it work.
Yep.
And here's the thing: we talk about ways in there, guys, where you could literally go out and get a deal for free.
It's sweat equity. It takes work. Everything takes work, guys. Sweat equity for the free stuff. You'll save yourself some time with the paid, but you can do deals for free. Just a lot of sweat equity.
100%.
So moving on to the next tip, we have this one and one more tip, and that is going to be, don't over negotiate. No sense in forcing a tight deal. I've seen this too many times where people they'll give their price. They'll give their price that they need to be at, and the seller's like $20,000, $30,000 above that. So it's like, I really need to be here. And now you're like, well, okay, what if I came up 10 grand? And now you're here on this price and like, still not good enough. And now you're like, well, what if I can come up maybe just 5 more grand? You're like, well, why couldn't you have paid me? Why couldn't you have just started with that? Now
that takes so much credibility away, especially if you're like, oh, the best I can do is 50,000. Then you're saying, oh, well, I can maybe do 60,000. Then you're doing 70,000. That seller's thinking like, well, I thought the 50 was the best you could do. I should just hold firm, and eventually you'll just keep coming up to my price. You just killed your credibility.
Yep.
You are now a sucker in the eyes of that seller. You're going nowhere fast on that deal. And not unless you want to pay the asking price.
Yep.
I mean, this is the reality, guys. Sometimes it is best to just stick to your offer and hold firm.
Yeah.
Even
especially if it's true.
Because, hey, let someone else go and waste their time locking it up for too much and never moving the deal.
And if you guys are at MAO, do not go. If they're like, well, they're only $2,000 over MAO, I might be able to get somebody to pay. Too tight. You're risking it. You're not confident that you can move a deal. I won't lock up an agreement unless I'm almost 100% confident I can actually move it. You run into very small to slim cases. Yeah, you'll run into small cases where, okay, yeah, I can count on one hand how many agreements I've had to terminate.
Same. 3.
Yep. Well, mine's 5, but I'm getting close to 2 hands.
That doesn't count like ones that had title issues and stuff like that, but I had to terminate them based on my own error, and I couldn't move the deal. 3 properties.
Yeah. And so do not over negotiate or try to make a super tight deal work. A lot of the times it's just going to be not worth the squeeze. The juice worth the squeeze. It's like,
let's say your ARV is 100% spot on in comparison to every buyer that you're going to send it to. And the only differentiating factor is going to be the repairs. Well, if your repairs aren't right and you locked it up for over MAO, say MAO is 150, you locked it up for 155, thinking you can maybe get somebody to pay 157. You just eliminated 90% of the buyers that would be interested in that if their numbers are similar to yours in the ARV department. Now, the repairs are going to vary wildly from every guy, every rehabber, every landlord. I know investors that can go and do a full gut remodel on a 3,000 plus square foot house for like $100K, but I could call 2 other people and it would cost them $150K. So
yep.
You will get differences in repairs that wild of swings. So if you're locking it up at the MAO, the only chance you have in moving that deal is you're going to find somebody who their repairs are going to run on the lower end of the spectrum versus what everybody else's is. But then you're talking about you're going to have to find the 1% buyer. when you should just underwrite the deal to work for all the buyers. And then if the deal works for all the buyers, guys, you can kind of bid that price up a little bit on its own. We talked a little bit about that in the dispo section in M2M, but that works really well also.
My last and final tip when it comes to securing more deals, and yes, it does have something to do with negotiating, but staying firm, is just leaving the door open.
Yeah.
Do not, even after you give your offer and they don't accept it, but you guys were relatively close, you took the time to build the rapport, leave the door open. Just say, hey, it might not work for you now, but if you're looking to sell maybe a little bit farther down the road, I would be interested in. We'll maybe talk about price again when we come back around to that. Things could change, but up until then, yeah. So just leave the door open.
Come back around a lot more frequently than you realize, because again, like I said earlier in the video, the impression that you leave today affects the results for tomorrow, next week, so on and so forth. So if you leave that good impression today and you leave the door open for them, that seller continues on about their day. Maybe they go and fill some other offers. If so, who cares? But as that motivation builds, it's going to come eventually to a snapping point where they're like, I need to sell it now. Who is the best person I can sell this to? And if you did everything right on the front end, you are going to be the one that they think of. Yep. And follow-up comes into play with that as well, guys. But good conversational framework combined with good follow-up is how you produce that result of, even if it took them 6 months to convert, you're going to be the one they ultimately do the deal with.
So let's bring it back. Let's go through the tips on what people do wrong again. What people do wrong again. Please do not chase too much. You want to attract the sellers. That is number one. Number two is talking too much. Silence is powerful. Remember, do not talk too much when you're on the phone with the sellers. Let them speak. Number three, not having a process and being confident on what the next steps are on how you can help. Number four, not having enough information. Knowledge is power. So try to get as much information on the front because that's going to help you negotiate. Yep. And number five, thinking price is the real objection. People want to get to the next chapter in life. It's not always about the money. Number six, not building enough rapport. This will likely kill your ability to get the price accepted anyway. Build rapport with these sellers. Really try to connect with these people. Have a genuine conversation. And remember, number seven was rushing the seller. Big no-no. Don't rush them. They have to feel comfortable. So those are the biggest mistakes that I see people doing inside of negotiating and just having a conversation with the seller. So if you can go back and implement some of the things that Korey and I told you to do, then you guys will have a much better chance of securing more deals and getting more contracts locked up. So you guys can go out here and change you and your family's lives.
That's what it's all about.
So who's got some questions? I want to answer some questions. I'm sick of talking this whole, well, I'm still going to be talking, but I want to answer some questions. So if you guys have questions, drop them in the comment section. I'm going to pull them up and we're just going to start going through it. Some people don't like to ask their questions. So if you guys got questions now and you're not in M2M, now's your chance to get them answered. So get those questions in the comment section and we'll help you guys out. I know Korey and I were also talking about maybe in the future.
I want Screwhead, elaborate on this a little bit here for me. You're saying, is it normal for there to be liens at both city and county level? Are you referring to liens or are you referring to something else? There's typically just one place for recorded liens to be.
Interesting.
I feel like maybe you're talking about taxes there, like property tax liens.
Yeah.
Clarify that again for me. Let me know what you're talking about so I can answer that for you.
Yeah. No one's asking questions. Nobody wants to get their questions answered. But back to what I was saying, though, Korey and I were talking about maybe bringing people up on some of these next live streams and just talking to people. Yeah, so it's something we're thinking about. If you guys want to just chat and you're not in M2M, you can come on here and chat with us.
Chat with us.
We'd love to talk to you guys and help you out. But we got
that was how I got all my questions answered when I started, guys, back in the day. Several years ago, I could get on YouTube like 4 or 5 days a week with Zach and Rick. There'd be a decent amount of people on there, but I would just be consistently asking questions. They would pull me up, talk to me. I would get my questions answered. I would go and take action. I'd come back with another set of questions. That was my secret sauce, guys.
Yeah.
Just getting guidance, taking action, rinse and repeat. Sometimes
I love to see it. I love to see it. We got no questions popping up and 20 people in here. Everybody on here is
Everybody's doing deals. Everybody's rolling.
Everyone's a master in here.
Man,
Well, I'm gonna give you guys. I'm gonna give you guys a couple minutes to drop your questions. If you guys don't have any, then I'm gonna just call it here. But yeah, guys, when it comes to negotiation, go out here and implement the strategies that we gave you guys. I promise you, the stuff that we're giving is summed up, yes, but this is years of calling and stuff that we're learning that we have given you guys that will go out here and save you a lot more calls to get a deal. So we got some questions here about, finally, here we go. Ruben said, got a lead. Owner is sick and is getting results back if he has cancer. He said right now he's at 80K, but in a week he might be much lower if results come back bad. Do we lock up now? No. I wouldn't lock it up now.
I would wait.
Because if you lock it up now at 80, why couldn't you perform to 80? Now you're just mooching on his situation.
Yeah. Wait until you have the full picture of the problem before you try to work the deal. You're still
be like, hey, I still don't know exactly where I'd have to be at. Let's talk once you get some results back, and I'll just see how good I'm able to do for you. I really want to do the best I can. Let's just talk when we know what the next steps are going to be. That's my advice to you. Here we go. Another question. Currently waiting on A2P approval. Can I set up my wave dialer now or wait? No, you can still set it up. You don't need A2P approval to call.
So he says, so liens. So, okay, so Houston, City of Houston Finance Department gave me a list, and then there's also liens in the Harris County Clerk of Court. That's fine. You'll see that sometimes. Depending on where the property was it in the city or the county, what it's for specifically, what's going on will dictate often what court they're going to record that with. It's pretty common. So nothing really to worry about there. If you can get stuff like that from both city and county, then hey, that's just more records for you. But if you're getting liens, that's awesome. Go ahead and try to see if you can get your hands on some more of those other government lists that we talk about all the time. But liens are good as well. If you find somebody who's got liens and they have some good equity as well, maybe a deal there.
Yeah.
Ultimately, here is the way when you're dealing with sellers, screwhead, that have liens. If when you're talking to them, one thing that you can use as ammunition in your tool belt is what they may not know is those liens, judgments, stuff like that. The amounts continue to go up as long as that's in place. And usually this is going to be dictated based on your state's laws and stuff like that and what it's for. But typically those types of liens are good for 10 years. And then they have to be re-recorded again. So if it's only a year old and it was a hefty amount and they're charging interest and penalties and stuff on there and it's going unpaid, it's got 10 years to continue to go up.
Yeah, it gets crazy high.
A deal I did up in before, a situation where somebody had a lien on a property for like $50-something thousand. It went and checked for like 15 years. The creditor renewed it at the 10-year mark. It was $40,000-$50,000 more than what it originally was by the time they got it resolved. I mean, it can get bad.
Some can get really bad because if you have code violations, it's considered like a lien against the property.
Yeah,
and I did a deal up in Michigan where it had only been like 4 or 5 months, but there was a $20,000 weed abatement lien.
Oh, I've seen that before.
For cutting grass for 4
I've seen it.
months.
City, they send somebody out to mow an abandoned property or a vacant property that's on the code violations list for tall grass. They send somebody out there once a week or every other week. They're charging you, like, you could get somebody to mow that lawn for $50. Well, guess what? If they're going to do it for you when they shouldn't have to, they're going to charge you $250 every time they go out there. And guess what? Every couple months, they're going to bundle all that up and file another lien. So I've seen this before, like 6-7 different liens, all for thousands of dollars each for every mowing season that they had to mow this property while it sat there. And sometimes these owners don't even know that's going on. They think it's just sitting out there abandoned and vacant or whatever it may be. They think it's just sitting there. What do they know? The city's mowing it for them and charging them out the wazoo every time. And
all right, let's
I don't want to let that go unchecked for too long.
Do y'all know anything about Florida's SMS laws? It looks like cold SMS illegal according to FTSA. Right now, people are still texting inside of M2M. I think, or just people are just texting inside anywhere. People are still texting in Florida, as far as I'm concerned. You'd have to send me the specific statute, unless they just released that. I'm pretty sure texting is still legal. But again, make sure you consult and check your state laws before you go out here and do that. That's just what I think so far. Let's see. How many SMS can you send per day with X leads? You have to go through a leveling up system. So it's starting at like 100. Then after you do like 100, you can do like 250 and 250, maybe 500, and then you just keep leveling up from there. Said, I thought A2P is needed for calling. What is A2P needed for? The texting part? Yes, A2P is for texting.
Also, one thing I want to say, Screwhead One, I didn't know that was you, Juan. My bad. I seen that you messaged me on my personal one, and here's what I want you to do. And this is for anybody that's an M2M. Like, you guys can message Evan and I on our personal school accounts on there if you want. But we get so many messages from outside of M2M that usually they get buried. So you guys need to make sure you're messaging us on the M2M team account. You can find it in there. Just go to members and type in Marketing to Millions. You'll find that account in there. Evan and I both have access to that, so we can answer the questions and stuff for you guys a little bit faster and more efficiently. So whatever you had messaged me, Juan, shoot it over that team chat so that way Evan and I both can answer you on there, and we'll get you taken care of.
And Ruben, yeah, just keep building rapport. Don't be the one to try to force it and lock it up now.
I mean, my question to Ruben is like, is 80K like way off, or is that deal territory? Because if that's like, oh, it's deal territory, he can make 10 to 20K, I would go ahead and lock it up. But we don't know that part of the story. I'm assuming he's still actively negotiating it.
Yeah. Can you negotiate that lower with the city? In some cases, yes.
Yeah. Code violation liens and stuff, those are usually pretty easy to negotiate. Especially like the tall grass ones and stuff like that. I've gotten those reduced like by thousands and thousands of dollars before.
Yeah.
Depends on what they're for.
Next question. Hello, I'm wholesaling in Minneapolis / St. Paul. What do you think about this market? I'm very hesitant to continue and thinking about going virtual instead of local here. I'll be honest, I haven't looked into Minneapolis too much. I'm not even sure if that's disclosure or non-disclosure, but I'll look up real quick and just let you know what I'm thinking based on.
I mean, it's definitely a major MSA. It is a major metropolitan statistical area.
430,000 population.
And that's, I mean, Minneapolis, like, it's just a small part of a broader, much broader marketing area.
Median home price is mid 300s.
That's not too bad.
It's not too bad. I would say you can definitely do deals here. It doesn't look too bad.
There's probably a decent amount of competition there, I'll say that, but I wouldn't let it scare you.
If you're local, I would do it.
Yeah, if that's your local market, then you'll never run out of leads in that market.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I would do. But all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Got another couple things we got to get to, but it was good to see people on here. I love engaging with you guys. And if you want to get better at negotiating, implement the tips that we gave you guys here. So, as always, everybody, make sure to like and subscribe. Maybe hit that notification bell if you like hearing us talk for an hour.
You want to hear us ramble more about wholesaling content? Maybe we can help you close more deals. Yeah.
So, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will see you guys next time. This is Evan.
Korey.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Later.